Hey everyone, Israel is currently in a war against the terror organization Hamas, and we know how hard it can be to keep up with all the news. So if you haven't had the time to stay on top of the latest developments out of Israel, we're here for you. I'm Lajar Gavelazi, and this is ILTV's Weekly Review.
Amid the controversy surrounding hospitals in Gaza, the IDF yesterday attempted to assist Palestinians in need. Once again, while the world condemns Israel, it's the IDF trying to help. ILTV's Devil Klein has the latest.
For weeks now, hospitals in Gaza have been claiming that they were running low on fuel and unable to keep the hospitals going. At the Al-Shifa hospital, where Hamas holds a command and control center, the IDF has made continuous efforts to ensure the evacuation and safety of civilian populations, as well as the access to necessary resources. IDF efforts continue despite the fact that Hamas has repeatedly taken resources from the hospital to use for their own sinister purposes. Yesterday, the IDF transferred 300 liters of fuel to the Al-Shifa hospital, only to find out that Hamas had intercepted the fuel and that the Gazans never got it. The IDF released footage of the delivery of the fuel and also phone calls coordinating the delivery with Gaza health officials.
احنا سنحط الوقود هاي في مفرق المجلس التشريعي هاي مفرق تاع الشوارع عمر المختار وشارع الناصر
مع النصر تمام
راح يحكي معك راح يقول لك لما حطينا الجالونات هدول وهم موجودين.
After the delivery, Hamas claimed that it wasn't true, but the evidence released by the IDF clearly shows otherwise.
The IDF says the military is not overrunning Al-Shifa hospital, but rather hitting Hamas gunmen wherever they are hiding. The army is calling for gunmen in the complex to surrender.
Based on intelligence information and an operational necessity, IDF forces are carrying out a precise and targeted operation against Hamas in a specified area in the Shifa hospital. The IDF is conducting a ground operation in Gaza to defeat Hamas and rescue our hostages. Israel is at war with Hamas, not with the civilians in Gaza.
The army has said that tunnels under Al-Shifa lead to a massive complex of underground bunkers from where Hamas runs its terrorist operations.
We also gave ample time to stop this unlawful abuse of the hospital. The IDF has also facilitated wide-scale evacuation of the hospital and maintained regular dialogue with hospital authorities.
Earlier, the army announced that it had captured a number of Hamas governmental sites in the heart of Gaza City after troops engaged in fierce battles with Hamas gunmen in the terrorist capital.
ראיתם את החיילים של גולני יושבים בפרלמנט של עזה. הדבר הזה הוא רב משמעות. אני יכול לומר לכם שבצפון הרצועה החמאס איבד שליטה.
Forces arriving at the hospital brought medical equipment and include medical teams and Arabic speakers who have undergone training to prepare for the Al-Shifa operation with the intent that no harm is caused to civilians being used by Hamas as human shields. Airstrikes continue on Hamas targets throughout Gaza. The Air Force struck some 200 targets over the past day, including terror operatives, weapon production sites, anti-tank missile launch positions, and Hamas command centers. All the while searching for leads to free the hostages.
ואני אומר לכולנו, איזה זכות מוסרית יש לנו להפסיק את הלחימה שלנו כל עוד האנשים האלה שבויים בידי חיות האדם של החמאס.
Despite its loss of control in northern Gaza, Hamas is able to manage sporadic rocket fire into Israel from the south. 2 people were lightly hurt in Ashkelon following a rocket strike, and cars and buildings were damaged. There were also damages in Tel Aviv Yafo from falling debris after Iron Dome shot down a rocket over the city.
Experience the power of truth with ILTV News. If you're looking for quality content and captivating visuals, join our news community and become an integral part of our team as we embark on a mission to unveil the real Israel, dismantling the web of lies and misinformation that surround reporting on Israel. By subscribing to ILTV News, you will not only have access to the latest updates, but you will also amplify our message, creating a ripple effect that carries the truth far and wide. Subscribe today and help reshape the narrative. Available on the web, Android, and Apple.
Joining us now with the latest security updates is Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs Research Fellow and journalist Yoni Ben Menachem. Yoni, since the start of the IDF operations, it has been clear that a military goal is to reach the underground bunkers under Al-Shifa hospital, where the Hamas terrorist command is located. Now the IDF is there and has entered, but not occupied the hospital. It is a delicate operation, so to speak. How is it being done?
It's being done by Israeli special forces who were trained for this mission for a long time and based on a very accurate intelligence information. If you notice, we don't hear anything since the raid this morning, which still goes on. And we can only speculate, but I rather wait for the IDF official announcement to know what are the results of this raid. In any case, Israel has proved that it can get anywhere, any place in Gaza. There's no immunity to any terrorist, and all of the targets of killing Hamas and destroying the military infrastructure will eventually be completed and achieved.
Yes, we've seen the IDF soldiers really reaching everywhere in recent days, the parliament and so on. Now, Israel has specially trained forces for this part of the operation, Arabic speakers and medical staff, incubators for babies and so on. Can the objectives be accomplished without the remaining patients and medical staff being harmed, like the whole world is watching now?
Yes, definitely. This is a very accurate and targeted mission. The IDF is operating only on accurate intelligence information, and of course, they are concentrating on that, but you know, there might be also terrorists who are trying to disguise themselves as medical crews or as patients. So this has to be done very carefully. Also, the Shin Bet is participating in this army raid in Shifa hospital, and they have their own methods to identify the terrorists who are trying to escape or are trying to disguise themselves as civilians. So I trust the Shin Bet.
Yes, let's not forget there's a whole underground city under Shifa hospital that the IDF has to take care of. Now, really, U.S. officials have confirmed that the Gaza hospitals have been used by Hamas. Would that be helpful in being able to explain the need for the operation into Shifa?
We have to see the results of what is happening. I'm sure that, let me say that I estimate that the Hamas escaped before the IDF got there, and they probably tried to erase all the evidence and try to, if there were hostages being held there, they moved them, and if there were terrorists, they fled. So I hope that the IDF will be able to find the tunnels and the central command post of the Hamas under the hospital. If they succeed, if the army succeed, this will be a very important achievement for the Israeli Hasbara to show the world how they are using hospitals, schools, and other civilian facilities for human shields and to protect themselves.
Definitely. Now, Israel now controls northern Gaza, but there are still Hamas strongholds in the south as well as the other civilians. Are there signs that troops may soon head in that direction?
Yes, the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, already said that we are heading towards the south of Gaza. And I think this is very important because, as you said, the Hamas strongholds in the south of Gaza Strip are even bigger and more dangerous than the ones in the north of Gaza, the one that the IDF already occupied and destroyed. So it's essentially that the IDF will get to any point in Gaza Strip, south, center, north, wherever, just to eliminate all this military infrastructure.
Yes, one of the main goals of this war. Yoni, thank you so much for joining us today, and stay safe.
And international pressure is building toward a ceasefire in Israel's war with Hamas in Gaza. That's the word from Foreign Minister Eli Cohen, who insisted that Israel will complete the job of ending Hamas's rule. Meanwhile, former UN Ambassador Dani Danon, together with MK Ram Ben Barak, penned a joint article in the Wall Street Journal calling on Western countries to take in Palestinian refugees. More from ILTV's Devo Klein.
Israel is facing growing pressure to halt or curb its Gaza operation rise significantly within the next few weeks. That's the view of Foreign Minister Eli Cohen, who said diplomatic pressure had begun to increase and that the diplomatic window for the IDF campaign in Gaza will likely remain open for another 2 or 3 weeks before it becomes significant. Such pressure would include demands for a ceasefire or only greater action to aid civilians in the Strip. Cohen insisted that Israel is determined to continue with combat operations until it reaches its goals for the war, to eliminate Hamas and return the hundreds of hostages it holds. Meanwhile, in a diplomatic win, the 27 European Union nations have jointly condemned Hamas for the terror group's use of hospitals and civilians as human shields in war against Israel.
We condemn the use of Hamas as hospitals and people as human shields, and on the other hand, we ask Israel for maximum restraint and targeting in order to avoid human casualties.
And on Tuesday morning, 2 Knesset members from both the opposition and the coalition penned a joint column in the Wall Street Journal calling for the voluntary relocation of Gaza's Arabs to the international community. Former Israeli UN Ambassador Dani Danon from Likud and Ram Ben Barak from Yesh Atid argue that Gaza is a global responsibility and call for the formulation of a plan that will allow a massive movement of refugees who desire to relocate from the Gaza Strip to countries that will agree to resettle them.